today we were going to talk more about energy transfer between people, because there's different kinds of energy transfer. As you know, as a lot of us know, everything is energy. So, even objects. So there's definitely energy transfer when it comes to objects or places or other things. But yeah, today it would just be with people, meaning, when maybe you're having a communication with someone, if you're having a conversation with someone, and energy is transferred back and forth between you and that person. So if I come with an excitable energy, then maybe it influences the other person, and they are excitable back. Like you can, raise someone's vibration, as they say in the spiritual world, with your energy, and energy is very valuable in that way. So, and it could also be, the other way around, where if you are upset or angry or sad, and you can take it out on the wrong person, then obviously they will have that energy as well. Or, it depends, if you're mindful, then you can prevent it. But yeah, if you're feeling sensitive that day and you take on other people's energy, it can reflect in how you treat others as well as yourself as well.
Yes, I completely agree with that definition for energy transfer. Just kind of piggybacking a little bit off what Charlie said, like we radiate frequencies basically of like how we're feeling. Like if anyone's ever felt like, you can kind of like step into the room, kind of feel the energy in there, or if someone else steps into the room, you can kind of feel whatever energy they bring in there. And sometimes we unconsciously are susceptible to that energy and we let it in. One of the things that I did want to touch on is empathy. You kind of take on other people's feelings to relate to them, but you don't want to take it on to a point where it's becoming a part, like literally a part of how you feel, to learn how to disassociate from emotion and relate to people as well. Being empathic is both a blessing and a curse, but also all of us have that ability to be empathic. It's just a matter of applying that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like actually exercising that. But a lot of people say like, oh, I'm an empath and I always just take on people's energies. Like, you don't have to be that way. Like, it's good to relate to people, but it's also good to try to find some balance and kind of take ownership in taking on people's energies. And today we'll also be talking about some ways in which you can protect your energy or create those boundaries.
Right. Do you think that your astrological sign has anything to do with being an empath?
Yes, your moon sign, I would say. Because one thing too, well, I guess this could be like an astrology talk, but one thing too is that a lot of people don't know that they have more than one sign. A lot of people kind of just know about their sun sign and don't really know that there are other planets that were there in certain positions when you were born that matter. So yeah, the moon kind of deals with emotions and stuff like that. So, and your sun is kind of like your roundabout personality. It's not necessarily like something that's completely vague. Like, it does say a little something, but it doesn't always resonate in every single way, or it lacks some detail in some of those areas, like emotions and stuff like that. So I think I think it plays a part. At least I see it play a part in my life. Maybe not everybody does, but I do see it play a part in my life. So yeah, I think looking at your astrological chart and stuff like that is definitely good to check out if you're kind of into figuring out what is good for you and what's not.
Yeah, I only asked because I've been meaning to look more into that, like the moon sign and everything, because that was me For a long time, I only thought, I just have the sun sign on, Capricorn. And Capricorns are actually known to be like quite cold hearted and not very empathetic. So I just recently started getting into that kind of stuff, and it's really interesting to me. So yeah. Yeah, with energy transfer, obviously it's, one person to another. You're transferring your energy, or it could be a thing, but in this case, it's transferring energy from another person. And with transcendence, I thought was really interesting because that's the one that I've been using to kind of describe energy transfer, and it's not the same thing. With energy transcendence, it's more you're turning it into something completely different and a more positive, like you're taking it to a higher state. And how I use an example for it was gradual positive thinking. Because I thought that was more transcending because you're like, maybe I'm like sad, I'm not really feeling well. So I'm like, okay, I can take sadness to like, not hopefulness, but like, well, kind of like hopefulness. Yeah, you're not exactly happy, but you're just like, well, maybe something positive can come from this. And then you take hopefulness to another level. So it just keeps going up like that. And I feel like that obviously it's a lot easier than transmutation because with transmutation, it's been known to be the hardest one, where you just switch right to the emotion that you want to be at. And that's usually obviously not the natural human thing to do, to go from, grief to like extreme gratitude. It's just not really, it's not really a thing that we're used to. So yeah, I've been working on I've been looking up a lot of videos actually, how to transcend my energy, because I think that's something that I definitely need to work on. And not just, how I transfer it, how to receive it, but how to transcend it into something that's, a little better each time, so I can get out of, because there's such this habit of just receiving someone's energy and then you're just like, well, I don't know what to do with it. So then maybe we take it out on the wrong person or in the wrong ways. And yeah, so I'm learning a lot about energy transcendence. And I just think that's such a powerful thing to be able to go up and just, because everything happens one step at a time, even transcending your energy. So
it's kind of like one of those ways in which you can exercise protecting your energy and really just like taking ownership of your energy and responsibility of your energy, for sure. And those are very powerful abilities to exercise when it comes to such. I kind of want to touch on the energy transfer and ways in which we kind of like take on that energy or take on energy that's around us, because really most of the time it happens like unconsciously. We don't think like, oh, this person is upset, I'm gonna be upset too. It's not like that. It's like when someone's upset and it's like you're really experiencing the impact, that's when you start becoming empathetic, and then it starts to transform the ways in which you feel. And I think that's kind of like just a lack of control over emotion, or just not having filters, kind of. Like if you think of it kind of like that, like having a filter on your emotions of what you want to allow and what you don't want to allow. Because in order to transcend and transmute, you have to recognize quality of energy. Is this going to add to my life? Is this something that I feel like I actually really need to feel right now? Because I think one thing about energy in the spiritual community, I feel like people always push that positive energy is the only energy to have, or the only energy that's valid. And that is not true. Right. Like sometimes, I know for me personally, sometimes I have to be sad to get through something. It's not, oh, be optimistic all the time. It's like, no, like sometimes I have to sit in it. You're really spending energy and you're taking in energy, and it's constantly recycling, transmuting all the time. Like I said, whether we're conscious of it or not, but sometimes you have to let yourself feel certain emotions and stuff like that so it can run its course, you know what I mean? And sometimes when you kind of take control or take ownership of like your mental constructs, you can transmute certain energies to become more positive because you start to see things clearer. And I guess that's like kind of leaking into like one of the ways in which you can protect your energy and definitely be responsible for it. And kind of exercising that responsibility. Like, for example, today, like, I texted Charlie earlier about something that was, like, tragic, and I was feeling, like, really bad. Like, I'm not gonna lie. But I was like, no, I'm not about to just dump all this on this person, like, or express my feelings to this person. Like, it's probably gonna play out perfectly fine. And then end up playing out perfectly fine. And, you know, it's just, like, a lot of, like, energy and stuff like that. You want to be conscious of what you're doing with your energy. Like, it's okay to check yourself on your energy. Like, emotions are okay to let flow, but you have to be conscious of the flow, because sometimes it's not healthy, and sometimes that can develop like very just not hygienic. It's not energetically hygienic to do certain things like that, and to let certain emotions in and certain emotions out. Sometimes you just have to sit with them, and then you just kind of work through them.
Yep, that's what I've been feeling this week. Definitely
Yeah.
didn't wish it. That I'm just like, yeah. And usually I feel like the human tendency is a lot of times what I used to do is just, I try not to do it, is just push it to the back of my brain and then just keep trying to go out throughout my day. Because, you know, I work with kids. So when something happens, you know, and I could take it out on the kid, which I have done, and it just ends in tears, and then you just feel like an asshole, you know, because they're like one. They're the ones I am with are like 1, 2, maybe 6, but usually I'm with the 1-year-olds. So, and they're very, very receptive to energy, extremely receptive to energy. And that's sometimes I feel like I could be more like a kid in that way. Like I feel very inspired working as someone who works in a daycare, because kids are just such teachers when it comes to that, and they're very quick with their energy as well. Like 1 minute they could be crying, another minute they could be, I feel like they're good at transmuting their energy, because 1 minute and they could be crying, another minute they could be happy and smiling, because that's literally how it is every day with these 1-year-olds, and they're so cute, and they're just a reminder for me in each moment, not only to be present and in the moment, because they're extremely present, but also to just, you know, be happy about the little things, because they're so happy about like nothing. Just like smiling, because I was like mad a second ago, and then now I'm all happy because they're smiling at me and they're showing their little teeth that are gonna fall out, but they're just they're very cute. So they just remind me, they're a good reminder for me to just, you know, just be careful with my energy, because I have taken out, you know, my energy on them a couple of times, and again, you don't feel very good about it. So, two people who have the same emotion can use it in a different way. Like 2 people who are both angry or mad can do 2 different things. You know, one person could take it out on another, and another person could take that passion elsewhere and use it for something productive. And it really is important when it comes to, you know, the way you move throughout life, because as we've all heard, it's about you know, how you react to life. It's not about what happens, because there's going to be so much shit that happens in life, and it's how you react to it, and it's how you you know, use your energy towards it, you know, because it's not just how you react, like what you do, but it's like your attitude towards it. You know, a lot of times I think I'm doing the right thing because I'm going with, you know, the better option of not taking out on someone and doing the right thing, but I still have a nasty attitude while I'm doing it. So it really is, you know, about all of that, even your attitude, your mindset, your thoughts are energy, you know. So it really is just how you use your energy is extremely important in this life. So I also thought about protesting as a great example when it comes to energy transfer, as well as energy transcendence, because we're just trying to take things one step at a time and make change, you know, on a degree type level. You know, obviously we can't make change immediately, but that's why I really respect the people who are out there protesting, and I definitely still want to go to one. It's because they're taking their passion and their anger, and they're going for what they believe is right, and they're trying to make a change, and it's incremental, but they're doing it, and it's repetitive as well. And so it really helps, and it really relates to energy transcendence, because they're using what they feel and turning it into something positive.
Yes, for sure. That definitely, there definitely is a certain kind of perspective that has to be present in a way in order to really see things like that, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like how you were saying with kids, like, yo, we could do a whole episode on children.
Yeah.
It's like, just like how it is just being a child, and like you said, they're in the present, they're in the moment, and it kind of takes like that kind of mindset or like mind placement in order to be like, okay, we got a problem. It needs to be fixed. Let's put this energy together. And, you know, it takes being in the present moment and not just like, you know, looking back at history and all that stuff.
Right.
Like, you have to kind of take ownership of your now, and, you know, and like you said earlier a little bit, like that optimism to transcend that energy. So yeah, I hear that wholeheartedly. One of the ways we wanted to discuss energy transfer too was physical contact. So like hugs and holding hands, it kind of like generates a certain type of energy in you when you hug a person. It's like, that's comfort. That person is transferring comfort to you. And when you're holding hands, it's like they're transferring like those little butterflies, or like that feeling of love and being cared for. I feel like those are kind of like a couple of the little mundane ways, for sure, in which energy is transferred. And kind of like how it is too when, you know, like a child hurts themselves and like you kiss their boo-boo, like they already feel like healed, you know, they feel so much better. Like even though, you know, physically like it didn't do anything for their wound, but they feel like just a ton better. That is definitely energy transfer like at its finest. But I guess well, is there anything you wanted to say about that one? Like physical contact?
Yeah, I was thinking about this whole time, there's this little boy named Drew that I work with, and he's 1. And he is the type to, like, somebody could just accidentally, like, push him a little bit or just tap him, and he'll just, like, start bawling. And then you see his hand draw back, like, he's about to do something. I'm like, no, Drew! Like, you can't hit someone. And it's interesting, like, it could be an accident. I find that he's not even mad. He's just hurt because he feels like somebody intended to harm him with whatever they did, you know? And it could be something as slight as literally just like pushing him on accident, you know, or like, because they run into each other all the time. So it could be that. So I found that while energy transfer can be, you know, positive when it comes to hugging and kissing and all that, but it can also be, you know, obviously negative, and even with little kids, and they're not even, like I said, he's not even like mad about it. He's more just hurt because of the, you know, the intention is what he's thinking, like, oh, somebody's out to get me, so now I'm gonna cry and draw my hand back. So, and I'm always like,
no. He protected his energy. He said, I'm not going like that.
It's like it's not gonna happen again, you know. I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Nah, that's he took that energy on, and he was right back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's so tiny.
Don't be reactive in your energy transfer. So that brings me to our next point, which is so funny because we're talking about a 1-year-old, but grounding and like being grounded in your energy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that right there, like learning how to be grounded in how you feel and the way that you want to feel. That you know is how you would like to perceive things, or how you want to process things, what you stand for and what you don't. That is the very thing that helps you determine quality of the energy that you give out and that you give in, because that's kind of like something more that you can identify with. But also talking about that, don't identify too much, because our feelings change all the time. But at the same time, you want to maintain that integrity, and that balance is like that sweet spot, you know? So yeah, definitely grounding, and that's also another way of how you can kind of like protect your energy and stuff like that. I kind of don't necessarily want to say like protect, but like
maintain.
Taking accountability. Yeah, and maintaining your energy, because I mean, you can protect your energy in some ways of like, oh, I don't want that in my life, I'm cutting that off. But like, not everything necessarily needs to be avoided and cut off, because we don't learn how to deal with them when they come up again. We only know how to detach. We don't know how to transmute.
When it comes to, like you said, how you're determining like what kind of energy you want to take in and trying to figure out how you can learn to desire quality energy. And I feel like intuition, I feel like everyone has like a little bit, even if you're not that much in tune to it, like everyone has a little bit of an idea the quality, like, of what quality energy feels like. You know, I feel like everyone's received quality energy at least once in their life. It's especially like I, go from communicating with my boss to communicating with 1-year-olds. And I know that I can send off some positive ass energy. Like I know that I can, get back to where they are and just, because I don't obviously want them to feel bad because I feel bad. So I know what I can do. But obviously I think ego plays a huge part in that because I'm like, no, I'm mad, like, or my anger is validated and I don't have enough time to relieve it in a proper time. A lot of times I just stick to just having a little attitude, even though I'm working with the kids and I don't want them to feel my emotions. But I think, ego can get in the way of that because I always feel like, well, not always, but sometimes I'm like, no, my anger is justified and what am I supposed to do with it? And when you're all like caught up in your emotions, you forget that you do know how to release your emotions in a positive way.
That's definitely like an ego check. Like, yeah, I have this whole like emotion I need to get off my chest, but I don't want to do it in a unhealthy way by literally pushing that energy that I don't even want on someone else. Like, that's just not even moral at that point. Like, you're so ready to just release that you're not really thinking about the other person and how they may really feel. I see only really like one more point that we have, and that was energy vampires. Some people will really suck all of the energy out of you
if you let them
knowingly. If you let them. And once again, like Charlie just said, if you let them. This goes with taking accountability for your energy.
Yep.
Do not let them. No one is deserving of your energy to the point you have nothing left.
Or just anger.
So, yeah. And to me, this is like a really big, fundamental part of true self-love and care for yourself is to leave yourself something.
Yeah.
Always make sure that you have what you need. Energy-wise, survival, when it comes to mental, emotional health, those are all like 3 forms of energy. You know what I mean? Like, you have to make sure, you can't allow someone to suck everything out of you. Energy vampires, they really only exist for those who are susceptible or people who lack boundaries on their energy field, on their energetic field. And that kind of goes with taking that accountability for your energy and maintaining that peace of mind. And that's one of the things about taking care of yourself, is being spiritually hygienic.
I've seen a lot of people, say that they've asked people, say, hey, are you in a good headspace right now for me to be able to share something with you? And I think that is so important. Like, I've just been reading that this year, and I'm like, wow, that's actually really true. Like, it's cool. It's not just to make sure that, because a lot of people, we can try to guess if someone's in a good headspace, but to ask and to go the next step is actually a really good idea. So I think that's just something worth mentioning. That's definitely something that we could do, texting. Yeah.
That is very, like, considerate. Like,
it is. Very.
Even when you call somebody and you're like, hey, yo, like, I really just need somebody to talk to right now. Like, even though that person may not be in that headspace to hear that, sometimes they kind of like, oh, this person needs me. Like, I need to hear them out, whatever, blah blah blah. But it's like, if you're not in the headspace to hear something bad, like, or if you don't have the energy to expend to maybe worry about your friend because you're busy going through what you're going through, it's okay to say, like,
not right now.
just hold on real quick, let me get my mind right, or I'm just not in the space to talk about that right now. Like, and it's like, you can't predict how somebody's about to feel about that. Like, the person asking you for your time and your energy for them to kind of offload this on you. It's like, it's like, you don't want that person to take it like, oh, well, that shows how much they care. Like, no, it's not that they don't care. It's that they care about themselves too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that I guess I just want to plug that in. That's like, it's courteous to ask, and it's also okay to say no.
Especially as an empath, if you're already aware of how sensitive you are, it is definitely important to be real with yourself. Because sometimes we forget how we're feeling. Like, we're just going throughout our life and going throughout our day, and our emotions kind of just get not like shoved to the back of your brain, but you're not aware of them until you really take the time. You like meditate and you breathe. And you're like, okay, how am I feeling right now? So even if you have to take a second to like figure out how you're feeling, and then even if you come back with a no, not right now, like, it's okay, because you have to. Mental self-care is super important, because I always hear self-care and my mind instantly goes to like the physical things, taking a nap or drinking water, and you forget, oh yeah, my mind needs some self-care too. Every part of you needs self-care, especially your mind, because it definitely plays out in how you take care of yourself physically, or how you spend your time. Like, mental health care is it's extremely important. So yeah,
you kind of realize, like, okay, I'm kind of neglecting myself and haven't drank water today, or I haven't really ate healthy today. Like, ask yourself why. That's self-care too.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I'm feeling down. What am I feeling down about? How did I let myself kind of feel down about that? Or how is that affecting me in my day-to-day life as far as taking care of myself physically? They go hand in hand, for sure.
I feel like when you push emotions to the back of your brain, maybe like, say if I had an interaction with my boss, but I have to get back to working with kids, so I'm like, okay, I just gotta push the emotion away so I don't take it out on the kid. And I feel like when we do that repeatedly, then we form like a negative mindset or emotional response to whatever it is that we're presented to, maybe even like right after we feel the emotion, when we're feeling the emotion, when it's like, sometimes it doesn't even like associate with it. And other times, even if it does, like if I'm upset with my boss and I gotta go work with the kids, then we form that negative emotional response. And that obviously can be dangerous. It's like, whenever you do a certain thing, you have a negative emotion. Like, if I'm at work and then my boss passes by and I'm like all of a sudden negative again, I feel like forgiveness plays a part in that. Like, if obviously we have to work on the emotion that we received from communicating with that person, but we also have to forgive that person. That way we don't always have these emotions that come up whenever that person, whenever we interact with that person. I think forgiveness has a lot to do with that as well.
I think there's definitely a difference between pushing things on the back burner and accepting and dealing with them.
Yeah.
And moving forward. I feel like both of those scenarios, in which dealing with things and pushing them on the back burner, they both lead to moving forward, but one of them is temporary.
Yeah.
And that's pushing stuff on the back burner. If you feel an emotion, it's best to deal with it in the moment. But if you're not in a situation in which you can, sometimes it's okay to put it on the back burner, but don't leave it there to burn.
Yeah.
You want to check on it. Okay? Yep. Like, you don't want to leave it there to burn to the point where it's a problem, and it becomes a problem that has infiltrated and just infected other parts of your life. Yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing about that. Because forgiveness doesn't always come fast, know? And it's like, in order to really move on, it's like, okay, I dealt with that just now. but like that doesn't change anything about me or how I work or how I feel about my work or, you know, whatever situation which you were in, you know, it's like, so because this is my truth and I'm grounded in it, we're just going to keep moving forward. Like, you know what I mean?